seconds. One Nation Queensland's Nick Muir is one of 9 candidates running for the seat of Fadden, and he joins you now. Nick, good morning.
Good morning, Nicole. Thank you for having me.
In 60 seconds, can you tell us about yourself and why the people of Fadden should vote for you?
Of course. So, as you mentioned, Nicole, my name is Nick Muir. I am the One Nation candidate for Fadden. I am a father of 2, a small business owner. I run a small charity with my fiancée. I'm a musician in my spare time, and as for why people should vote for me, I think the question we need to be asking ourselves is, has life improved for us over the past 5 to 10 years, or has it gotten worse? And for many people, it's gotten worse. The main issue I'm running on with my platform is home ownership. I think home ownership is growing further and further out of reach for everyday Australians as the years go by. And I would like to see that turn around, and I believe that the ALP and the LNP are not willing to do what needs to be done in that regard. And the question, if you were to ask yourself, do you want your kids to be able to grow up and own a home? Do you want your grandkids to be able to grow up and own a home? We are the only party that is willing to do what needs to be done to fix that problem.
I know this week there's been a lot of talk about housing. So if you don't think the LNP and the ALP have got it right, what is your solution?
So I think with regard to home prices, there are 3 factors that really contribute to the upward pressure on house prices at the moment. There is the demand side, which for the most part is coming from overseas arrivals at present. There is the supply side of housing, which is the creation of new homes, which is, of course, critically important. But there's also the supply of credit. Now, I think the lowest hanging fruit, if you will, at the moment is to ease the pressure from the demand side of the equation there. So from One Nation's perspective, what we'd like to see is a pause on immigration, cut that back to a net zero target, meaning one person leaves, one person comes back in, and that we maintain that figure until such time that our housing supply, and for that matter, all of our infrastructure across the board, houses, hospitals, roads, have had a chance to catch up.
Okay, so surely that is just part of the puzzle, though.
No doubt.
Okay, so you believe that's the first step. What would follow that? If we completely stop people coming, it doesn't stop people from moving from state to state.
Oh, of course, that's right. No, absolutely. It is only part of the puzzle. I think it's a large part of the puzzle, but you're absolutely correct, Nicole. There's more to it than that. I think, in the recent days, the LNP has announced a policy which would make interest payments for first home buyers tax deductible for the first 5 years. Now, that factors into the supply side of the equation when it comes to house prices. For me, that's one of those policies that appears to be beneficial and benevolent at face value, but all it does ultimately is inflate the price of houses going forward, because it allows people to borrow more, which allows people to bid more for houses, which in turn does drive up the price of houses. So whilst it allows first home buyers to get into the market now, it only makes things harder for home buyers in future. So I'd like to see policies like that tabled at Parliament with a great deal of caution. And of course, the third factor that we spoke of earlier was the actual supply of housing as well. Now, we need to obviously build more houses. Do
you have the land in your patch?
I unfortunately don't have the land ready to go, but look, what we'd like to see is, we've had a critical shortfall of homes built over the past 2 financial years. With regard to the amount of people that we've added to our population, we've fallen short by, up to 40, 50%, up to 70% in some areas of Australia with regard to how many houses we need to build to keep up with population growth. So we need to cut red tape there. We would be proposing a 5-year moratorium on GST for all building supplies to allow the cost of building a new house to come down. And, when you take that from all of those 3 factors that factor into house prices, I think we have the most holistic approach to dealing with the housing situation.
Okay, with you on ABC Gold Coast, Brekkie, covering the federal seat of Fadden at the northern end of the Gold Coast, is One Nation candidate Nick Muir. The LNP holds the seat with a 10.6% margin. Mm-hmm. So why would people choose One Nation, which also campaigns on conservative values, over the LNP?
Great question, Nicole. I would posit to you that the LNP have strayed from their conservative values to a degree. They once were what I would call a conservative party. I think if you consider the political scene in Australia to be a spectrum, I think they've veered from that conservative value to somewhere sort of more of a centrist place. I think One Nation now occupies that conservative part of the political Australian spectrum fairly exclusively. So if you are a voter that holds those conservative values close to your heart, then I would urge you to consider us strongly.
Okay, so just going through some of your policy there. So you're advocating for a pause in immigration until infrastructure and housing supplies catch up. You support reopening the discussion on nuclear power as a clean and efficient energy source, which is also very similar to the LNP as well.
Yes.
Where are your preferences going?
Okay, that's a really great question. You see, and that's one I get a lot. So with regard to preferences, we actually have no control over where preferences flow on a federal ballot. What we offer our voters, or any voters for that matter, is a how to vote card. And what that is it's a serving suggestion essentially of where we would suggest that you place your preferences. But where you place your preferences on your ballot is where your preferences go. We actually have absolutely no control over that. And we encourage every voter out there to decide what issues matter to them, go and quiz out your candidates, and then vote accordingly and order your preferences accordingly.
Has One Nation leader Pauline Hanson campaigned with you in the electorate, or is she planning to do so?
So not as yet. But you've got to remember there's 151 seats in Australia in the lower house. So it's a lot of ground to cover. Now, as we spoke of before going on air, I campaigned in the last state election also. Pauline did come and campaign with us for brief periods during that campaign, and to her credit, she covered a lot of ground. And I'm sure we'll cross paths over the federal campaign, and I look forward to when that happens.
As a small business owner, how do you find the time to do this?
Long days, early starts and late nights. Yeah, we were out till it must be 10, 11 o'clock last night dealing with campaign signs and other campaign issues. You know, like everyone, we have family issues, and running a small business, for anybody who runs a small business knows that that's really it's more than a full-time job. It's a non-stop around-the-clock job. So, look, it's just that the issues we're facing as a nation now, I think we're at a critical inflection point, and as a father of two, I think it's important for everyday community members to stand up. So that's why we're finding the time and making the time to do this.
All right. Nick Muir, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate that. That is your One Nation candidate for the federal seat of Fadden on